I see so many incredible women that are overqualified, that are overdue. And I'm going to give you right now permission to say yes. Permission to apply for those roles, permission to put your name out there, permission to ask for more money.
Come on.
I know so many women in the workplace that aren't getting paid market rates for their roles simply because they won't say anything. I think the narrative for so long, and it was a valid narrative, has been nobody's made a place for women in the workplace to take a seat at. And you can see it on boards, you can see it on that. I won't disagree with that. However, that becomes the reality that we then live it out. So when someone pulls out a chair for us, we're like, I don't know what to do. But what I started seeing now recently in the workplace is there's a lot of great men and a lot of great women who are unbelievers making places for women and men to take a seat. We can bring the realities of the gospel into that. I've had believers tell me, like you shouldn't go into the workplace. It's so scary. You know, and I'm like, I'm not afraid.
Come on now.
I'm not afraid. Like it's like we're the light. If it's really that dark, we should be going into there.
Why do you think you're there? Welcome to the Faith Hustle Podcast, where we help young Christian entrepreneurs learn how to build their business and careers God's way. My name is Makwenda. I'm your host. I've been an entrepreneur for almost 10 years. And in that time, I've been mentored and guided by some of the most successful business owners that I knew that were not just crushing it in their companies, but in their personal lives, in their family life, in their devotion to Christ. They had this holistic view of success. And that's what I wanted. That was attractive to me. And that's why I decided to start this platform, because there are people like you who are like-minded as well. We teach on 5 pillars here at Faith Hustle. We teach on being spirit-led, on having a heart of stewardship, on humility, integrity, and generosity. Those are the 5 things that we believe makes up someone that has a faith hustle. And if that describes you, that describes what you're also chasing. You might be saying, Makwenda, you are right up my lane, you at my front door. Then I want to encourage you to subscribe to the podcast wherever you may be watching or listening from, whether it be on YouTube or Apple or Spotify. We would love for you to be a part of this community and this growing tribe of people who are building their faith hustle. And if you've been enjoying the podcast, maybe you've been listening for a few months and you've been really enjoying what you've been listening to, would you leave us a review? It helps us a ton to get the word out to more people so more people can get impacted. And thank you. It really is incredible to see how this community has grown. I think we're at around 25 countries that listen to this, which is unbelievable, only by the grace of God. So thank you so much again for your support. And on today's episode, I have a special guest. I have a new friend, but we've actually been friends for a few months now. And it's actually crazy how it transpired. We met like most millennials do online on Instagram. And I was seeing her account and I'm like, oh man, she's posting about the same stuff I do. And we have similar language and similar passions. And she has a brand called Christian Corporate Girl to help Christians in the workplace, in that career field, to represent Christ and to be excellent in their field. And I'm like, oh, this is right up the same alley. And I was like, I gotta have you down. She literally flew down from Seattle just to be here in the Faith Hustle Studios. Thank you so much for being here, Carolina.
I'm so excited to be here, Makwenda. And I got to say, I've got the best welcome from Dallas. I've spent the last couple of days with old friends and new friends, and it's just been such an honor being here. So thank you so much.
You have been the queen of Dallas. Let me tell you, this woman knows how to have a good time. Like, I would text her like, hey, are you good? Oh, no, trust me. I got 10 people over my Airbnb, and we're doing a dinner, and we're doing this, and we're going here. And I'm like, you have a full itinerary. And I'm like, this is just a glimpse into who you are, and I love it. No, but it's been awesome to actually meet you in person after all these months.
Likewise. It's been great.
No, it's been amazing. And like I said, like, we met over, I don't even know what post I saw, but I think we met over Instagram. Mm-hmm. And it's funny, like, you weren't even at 10,000 followers at that point, and now you're at 14.
Yeah.
And it's just been growing and growing. Mm-hmm. I'm like, man, this is definitely someone we got to have on. And so, no, I'm so thankful that you're here. Again, I'm inspired by you. She also is a huge supporter of the podcast. She's always like messaging me like, I love this episode, or I'm watching this. I'm like, man, I appreciate the support. And
I've been talking about it as much as I can all over Dallas. Anytime people are like, oh, we were shopping at Made One. They're like, what are you here for? I was like, on a podcast. Here it is. Look at this. And it's been, they were like, oh, we've totally heard of it. And I was like, oh, that's amazing.
Which is wild.
Yeah.
Which is why you just never know when you start, even the Instagram account. I'm sure you get people like, oh my gosh, I love your account.
Yeah.
You know, like you just never know. You just take steps of faith. But no, I appreciate the love, the support, and it's a mutual thing. I'm always, telling people about what you're doing and all the, it's just very unique. I think we're in a very critical time. Some of you may know that have listened to this. I had a few months ago, my friends, they have a whole brand called Christian Entrepreneur Club. And so they're gathering Christian entrepreneurs in this like monthly kind of mentorship kind of summit thing. And I'm like, God's doing something for real. It's like, it's not just like one person that's like going out there. It's like all of us in our unique ways are sensing this thing of like, which I mean, it's a prophecy that Billy Graham had that he believes that the next move of God in America would come from the marketplace.
100%.
And I 1,000% believe it. And I think there's a few of us that have kind of heard that ringing, and it's like we're just on the cusp of it. So I'm just glad that we get to run together, do life together, and help a lot of people.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, so we're going to jump right in. So one, I'd love to hear even why you started your account, why you started making content, because you've had an extensive, obviously, career in corporate America, but we talk, you were able to tell me your story, and I'm like, oh, there's so many layers to it, and you also do ministry and all these different things. But what kind of moves you to start this account?
So I have been in the corporate space on and off for like the last decade.
Yeah,
which has been absolutely wild. Smaller corporations to I work in a global company right now. And honestly, when you feel like that, like little like nudge, and you're like, I don't know if it's the Lord, I don't know if it's another idea that I'm just going to give up on in 2 months, but you just feel like that little nudge in your heart that's like, this would be a good idea.
Yeah.
And so in that moment, it was literally November 5th last year.
Wow.
I just felt this like nudge. I was like, man, and I'm constantly in reflection about just life in general, things like that. I was just sitting in a moment of reflection. I was like, I remember when I started, I was freshly 20. I was freshly 20, starting my first big girl job after college. And I had so many questions of what it looked like to be a believer in the workplace.
Yeah.
So it's like, do you walk in there being like, I go to church, I go to church, because,
wear a fish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, what are you supposed to do? Like, yes, I have boundaries, and yes, I have convictions, but how do I walk that out while also completing my task list?
Yeah.
And so I just had so many questions, and there's a lot of things that I learned. There's a lot of things that I approach with wisdom, and a lot of things that I learned because of mistakes. Yeah. And so
they could both teach you.
Exactly. And so looking back, it was just a moment of reflection. I was like, man, I just wish I had something. And I was like, it's probably the only one. I was like, I'm sure everybody's just great at this.
And 14,000 people later, you're like, I'm not the only one. Yeah.
And it's not even 14,000 people. I probably get 30, 40 DMs a week. Like, this is the page I needed.
Wow.
This is the page I needed. People that are now no longer in the workplace are like, I wish I had this page. Like, this is so incredible. Like, this is so needed. So literally it was just a nudge truly from the Lord where he's like, just start it. And I was like, and I'm that kind of person, like, I don't care if success is on the other end. If I feel like the Lord's, I'm just going to lean on it.
Yeah.
So I started it. I didn't do anything with it posted 1 or 2 posts. November, and I was like, like you start something, you're like, yes, I love new beginnings.
Yeah.
And then you start and you're like, this is really hard and I don't know what direction I'm going. And so you're like, okay, I'm gonna wait for inspiration to hit. Inspiration doesn't exactly hit. It doesn't. You got to get back into prayer. You got to lean on the Lord, and you got to just kind of power through those moments where you think inspiration should be flowing in.
Yeah.
And so for me, I started things up in December from what I remember. I think it was December. And then my work sent me off to a leadership conference in France. This was about
no big deal.
In France. Most
people is Nebraska. No, you going to France.
This was my second business trip, and I got sent to France. And that was always a dream of mine. So they sent us out to a business school out there, and it was about 40 people. I think there was about 20, 25 countries represented.
Wow.
And so I remember sitting there, and it felt like, if you've ever been to a church conference, it felt like a church conference. Mm-hmm. And so we connected. The only thing connecting us was the company. We all work in different industries and different areas of the company. And I was like, you know what? Like, this is amazing. Within 48 hours, we're all friends.
Wow.
40 of us.
Which I'm not surprised by you, because that's just your personality.
You know, but still, even that's surprising. Like, I'm not gonna disagree with you saying what I've seen in Dallas. I'm not gonna disagree with you.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I think seeing that to that level, there's so many different cultures, and we had an amazing time. And I was like, this is amazing. That's what I thought that business conferences were like and leadership trainings were like. And so I walked away, and the director of the program was like, thank you for just doing what you did. And I was like, what are you talking about? And she's like, just the way that you kind of brought people together and just all that. And she's like, there's something different. And I was like, that's the Lord. And I was like, that's the Lord. And the moment I recognized that, I was like, I'm coming home and I'm hitting the ground running.
Wow.
Because when a believer has favor in the workplace, the way that you can impact both relationally, both with encouragement, both with love, can absolutely change someone's life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That is so, I think, there's so many places I want to go with it. One, what a cool opportunity to go to France.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
A dream come true, for sure.
Literally. But that was the seed of you knowing, like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. Mm-hmm. And again, I see it as from just being a consumer of, it's helping so many different people. You use humor and so many different things to kind of relate to, the office environment. But you're helping people. You're giving them the tools to how to be bold and all those different things. What have you found from doing this? What's some of the fruit that you've seen from this account? Have you been wanting to start a Christian podcast, but you just don't know where to start? It's 2025 and you told yourself last year you were going to start that podcast. Well, trust me, I understand. Believe it or not, Faith Hustle was actually launched and started in 30 days from start to finish. And I believe you can do the same. Most people hesitate to start a podcast for a few reasons. They don't know where to start, they don't have the right equipment, and they don't know how to build a great show that can get traction. That's why I created the 30-day podcast course to teach you the methods and the exact model that I use to build out my podcast in 30 days. In this course, you will get 9 teaching videos that will show you how to find your unique podcast niche, how to find high-level guests, and how to conduct incredible interviews. You'll get a list of the exact equipment that you need to build out your show, and you'll learn the free and powerful marketing strategies to launch your podcast to the masses. What if 2025 could be the year that you start that podcast and impact thousands of people? Don't wait. Start today and let's get that podcast launched.
Okay, so my favorite one, which has just been absolutely beautiful, and it's been a long time coming, has been the fact that I used to work under a boss. She had a very intense leadership style. Wonderful woman, but intense. So you didn't know if you were getting called into her office to be reprimanded, or you're getting a task that you got to complete in about 15 minutes.
Oh, that's
or
fun.
What? Yeah. And so you're just like, okay, so there's a constant heightened level of stress, I would say.
Yeah.
Learned a lot from her. Don't love the learning style very much, but learned a lot.
Yeah.
So one of the times she calls me in, I was pretty new in, and there's just kind of like a hush over the whole office about just when you get called into her office. And so she calls me in and she's like, hey, do you go to church?
Wow.
And I was like, and granted, in those situations, it's not that you're ashamed of the fact that you're a believer, but to approach it wisely, because I never want to misrepresent the Lord. I never want to misrepresent what a believer whose number one goal is to reflect Jesus, is to be like him. Like, I never want to misrepresent that. And so taking that question and being like, okay, this could go in being in a corporate space 50 different directions.
Right.
And what is going to happen? And if it goes into a bad way, am I going to be able to calmly, take this whole situation calmly?
Yeah.
And so I just answer her and I was like, yeah, I do. And she goes, what's it like?
Wow.
Yeah. And we just kind of start talking about it. And And I was there for about a year. Through those times, she would randomly pull me in her office and ask, and never told me why. And, we'd have conversations. I never felt permission to ask her questions. So I kind of just, not from the Lord, not from her. And I always thought it was like fear of myself, just fear. But honestly, I look back and I just didn't feel like I had too much permission to ask her questions. Just kind of refrained from that. And so a couple months, so I shared openly about my passions, about the Lord, about what he's done in my life, and just approached it with wisdom and fear of the Lord. And I ended up, about 2 months after Christian Corporate Girls was really kind of going, I hit a little lull. And I was asking the Lord, I was like, would you show me that people actually need this? Within about a week, it was Easter. It was it was Good Friday. And she posted that she got baptized. And I know. So she got baptized, and she said yes to the Lord. She said yes to the Lord. So she goes to a church that's literally 10 minutes away from my house.
That's insane.
Which is insane. So we kind of talked a little bit about it. And granted, was I the only one planting seeds? No.
No, but you did your job.
Yeah. I felt like I came back to that, and I was like, I'm so thankful that those times where she had questions. Was she questioning for years? Absolutely. She was my boss 6 or 7 years ago. Was she questioning for years? Absolutely. But you think of like how passionately the Lord pursues people. That's a testimony itself. Like, you could be praying for your coworkers, and the seeds that you plant may bear fruit in a decade.
Right.
And so I'm still expectantly waiting for that harvest in all the people that I've talked to in a workplace. So that's been really cool. Another couple cool things that I've gotten is just people, again, just feeling like a renewed sense of hope. Market's not great right now. It's not. I want to believe and hope for a turnaround, but
in Jesus' name, yeah.
Yes, but the job market is a little rough, and so people are at a point where they're just like, I feel kind of hopeless. And so for them to stumble upon a page that's giving them permission to ask, that's giving them tips on how to, go about job interviews and everything, and that's also has a little bit of humor to it. I love my memes on my Instagram.
You have top tier memes.
Thank you.
Literally top tier memes.
Thank you. I make them all myself. Thank you.
That's a lot of work.
It is, but I love it. They say if you do what you love, it's never going to feel like working. And honestly, I love it. I love making memes. It's been my favorite. And I've gotten so much unexpected feedback from that, of just being like, this totally made my day. I totally feel so seen. And just even a lot of women have reached out to me about the fact that they feel the permission now just to begin to ask for things that they couldn't. And so I know in the workplace, believer, non-believer, guy or girl, like a lot of people struggle with imposter syndrome, with feeling like they're even worthy of an opportunity. And so for them to even be like, I finally feel like I have permission to ask for these things. Like, it's been absolutely so beautiful to see that.
Wow.
And so, I mean, I could talk for hours about just people reaching out. I probably get 30 to 50 DMs.
My goodness.
Yeah, a week of just being like, this is exactly what I needed. Or people that have left the workplace, that were in the workplace in a season, that were like, I wish I had this when I started. Like, you don't understand how helpful this is now in reflection even. Man. And it's so beautiful.
That's so good. I love that. I think, I think we talked about this a little bit of, it's refreshing to know that, I'm not the only one, and you're not the only one of like pursuing this, trying to honor Jesus, trying to make a difference, trying to live for the Lord in the workplace or in the marketplace. And from what I see from you and your life, you said this off camera, like you're giving people permission to go for it. Yeah. Giving permission, because I think a lot of times we can have this tension, and I love to hear your response to this or thoughts towards it, especially because, you're not just reaching Christian, you're reaching Christian women specifically. Yeah. And again, not to make this political or not, but like, we know the disparities there can be of women in the workplace versus men, whether how much they get paid or how much they get, when they get advanced, all these different things. And so you're hitting on these different things and encouraging them through your content. What's the tension that you tend to see of people like, man, I have my faith. I want to be a good witness, but I also want to do well in my job. Like, what tension do you see, or do you see any at all from people who are following your content?
Oh, I mean, I've seen tension in my own life. I feel like that's been the wrestle. So I can speak openly from my own life. That's been the wrestle. Is like, I feel the Lord calling me into the things that he has, and, in the church world, and a response from that. But at the same time too, I see this open door and this favor from, the corporate. So it's this tension of like, okay. And for me, sometimes it just takes me a moment to step back and be like, what do you want me to do now?
Yeah.
What is in my hands now? Scripture says, like, whatever is in your hands, like, do it well. Yeah. And what's in my hands? Oh, a full-time job. And I've prayed about it. I'm like, Lord, if it's your will, release me from the 9 to 5. Release me, Lord. Yeah. It's been an ongoing joke with my friends, and the Lord's like, you're going to stay, You're going to stay. And so, I mean, we always joke about it, but I think that even keeping a sense of humor to that has made my life so much easier, has made the tension a lot easier. That's why I incorporate a lot of humor back into the page, back into people's lives. But I think one of the biggest things that I've seen is I want to speak out of the parable of the talents, because me and my community, they've heard enough from me about it. I've been talking about it for months. They've had hours probably of recorded voice memos that I'm like, hey, which now you can put 2 times speed on voice memos, which my friends have all figured out. Yeah.
Oh, that's going to help my friends, because I send them all the time.
I'm like, hey, listen, I just have this quick thought. 18 minutes later, I'll send another one. And so we've had this conversation about the parable of the talents, where when the master gives the one 5 talents and he goes away, all that servant does is he stewards the talents, and he brings back, the master comes back and he asks for an account. And he's like, well, here's the 5 more talents. He took 5 talents that were in his hands, recognized what he had, stewarded it, and produced 5 more. Yeah. I don't see a dialogue. I mean, granted, there might have been one internally, but I don't see a dialogue of being like, okay, what's actually in my hand? Like, is it? I don't know. Like, it feels like he only put 3, or like, oh man, like, oh, he gave the other person that I, work with 3. Now I feel kind of awkward about the 2 extra. No, it's a recognition of what he put in my hands. What did he put in my hands? He put 5. My now responsibility is to steward that well. Yeah. And so I feel like we don't recognize very often what he's put into our hands. So I tell people, recognize what's in your hands. Yeah. Recognize your talents. Don't be shy about it. Like, recognize, like, it's not prideful to recognize what he's put in my hands. No. He's put so many giftings in my hands, and if I don't recognize that, I'll miss out on stewarding it. And so if you look down further in that story, we see that the one that buried his talents, why did he bury it? He had wrong thinking of the master, and he had fear. Wrong thinking of the master and fear. And so when I reflect back on myself and struggling with imposter syndrome and things like that, and I send so many DMs weekly to women, I see this same thing of just this, almost this bearing of the talent. Like, oh, I don't know. It's easier if I just put it away. It's easier if I just bury it. It's easier if I don't acknowledge it.
Or not tell anybody.
Yeah, not tell anybody. And it's like, well, hey, right now it's not being required of you. You don't have to give an account right now. But in 20 years, 30 years, you're going to miss out on all the fruit and all the stewarding you could have done. And so for myself, when it comes to, like, for myself, when I look at that whole story, I'm like, I don't want to walk in, when it comes to myself, like, I don't want to bury talents that the Lord's put in my hands. I don't want to be like, oh, I was too afraid to act on them. And when I was praying about Christian Corporate Girl, I really felt the Lord be like, help people unbury their talents. Ooh. Like, go with people. Yeah. Go with people. Like, remind them that the master's not back yet. Yeah. There's redemption and restoration. Like, and there's forgiveness and, forgiveness for that. Like, I didn't view him right, so I buried my talent. I was afraid, so I buried my talent. Right. And he's not back yet. Wow. I still have time to go and bury it. Whew. So I just feel that very strongly from the Lord, is like going and helping people unbury those talents.
Man. Yeah. That is so. And here's the thing, like, oh my God, I can go so many different directions. But I mean, one, the thing that could look like is there is a promotion that you could be up for. Yeah. But you say no. Yeah. And and I don't know if I told you this, like my whole podcast is based off Parable of Talents. Yeah, and I ate that up. And I was in a small group, and that's all we studied. And we studied about that multiplication. Anytime you see faithfulness in scripture, it's tied to multiplication. And I had that problem. I had talents I buried. Faith also would not be a thing if I didn't study that parable. And part of it was that the one that had humility, and I'm putting air quotes if you're listening on audio, air quotes on humility of, well, I don't want to like waste it. I don't want to, I like almost feeling like he's doing his master a favor of not doing anything with it. He doesn't just call him irresponsible. He calls him wicked. Yeah. Which is a very tough pill to swallow. And I think part of it is because when you and I are in our positions, when you who are watching, we're in our positions whether it's in our workplace, our job, whatever, people get transformed. Yeah. Like people are always on the other side of your obedience. Yeah. And God positions us in places. I was actually thinking about this earlier. Joseph, the man who owned the tomb that Jesus laid in, and he gave his tomb up. Wow. He was a businessman and a politician, and sat on the council. And literally he traveled once he heard the news that Jesus had died. And he went and he said, listen, he can have mine. Most likely he probably reserved it for himself, for his own grave site. But he's like, Jesus can have it. Wow. And because of how he was, and I learned this from Steve Benante, shout out to you, he was on my show, of like, because he was positioned in authority, he positioned Jesus for the resurrection. Like because of that, we have salvation. Yeah. And it's like, girl, if you got that go for it. Yes. Because people don't leave bad, not granted, there people leave jobs for a lot of reasons. Sometimes it is pay, sometimes it is benefits. Most of the time, you're leaving. Chunk, yeah, for sure. You're leaving because of leaders. You're leaving because the culture is not set, and the culture always starts at the top. It's not your 5 culture points you put on the wall that nobody knows. Yeah,
it's not the words that we voted upon. They're like, what do you think our culture is? It's not that.
An agency put it together. Yeah. No, it's a person who filtrates that system with who they are. Yeah. And we need more spirit-led people taking their... But that is such a powerful of unburied talents to unbury them. I think that's... So okay, practically speaking, so let's just say there's a woman speaking. Yeah. She knows she's qualified or overqualified for certain roles, certain things, and she's feeling that fear. What would you tell her?
Go for it. Absolutely. I simply would tell her, here's your permission. Go for it. You need to start putting your name in the hat. You need to start applying for the opportunities. You need to start saying yes when opportunities are being presented to you. Because here's the thing, like I believe the lie that if they felt that I was ready, they would have given it to me. And it's not that. It's not that. If they felt that I was ready, they would have given it to me. But did I let them know that I wanted it? Wow. What if they don't know that I believe that I'm ready? Wow. And so for me, I see so many incredible women that are overqualified, that are overdue, that aren't stepping into these things. And granted, there's so many different factors. I always tell women, pray about it. Pray about it. Recognize where your life is at. Recognize what you feel like the Lord is doing right now. Like, go about it in wisdom. But you know when you're long overdue to step into something new. You know it. And I'm going to give you right now permission to say yes. Permission to apply for those roles. Permission to put your name out there. Permission to ask for more money. I know so many women in the workplace that aren't getting paid market rates for their roles simply because they won't say anything. I used to work my very first job out of college. My boss taught me a lesson that I'll never forget, a very costly lesson. He said, and I was leaving at the time, and I was like, man, I really wish I'd gotten a promotion, or not a promotion, a pay raise. And he goes, well, you never asked. And I was like, I didn't know that I had permission to. He goes, I'll never give a raise to someone that doesn't ask. I personally told myself if I was ever in a position to give someone a raise, I would never operate like that. That was lesson number 1.
Yeah.
Lesson number 2, I will always ask.
Wow.
Because at the end of the day, he might have saved that company $15,000 that I was asking for.
Come on.
But he lost a good employee.
Yeah.
I ended up coming back, getting more than that raise.
Come on
and
now.
left again because I still didn't get what I needed.
So he didn't really get this lesson twice in a row.
Yes. And so for me, and I ended up getting called back for then a third time about 2 years after I had left for 6 figures, which was significantly beyond what they were paying for that role.
Come on now.
And I was like, I didn't say yes. I didn't feel like I needed to leave where I was at. And so, but to be able to be like, oh, so we will pay a price for good people. People will, if you're a great employee, don't wait to the point that you're exhausted or you're tired to ask for what you actually want. Because I found that a lot of women in the corporate space, saved and unsaved, will get to a point where they're just like, it's fine. It's going to be easier if I just go. It's going to be easier. We don't want to be a burden. Our asking seems like a burden when it's just a simple request. And I don't know, if you feel like you need to be unburdened, let yourself be unburdened. If somebody sees you asking as a burden, they can renew their minds. They absolutely can.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Give them an opportunity to do so. I sent an email about 3 weeks ago, maybe 6 weeks ago at this point, 6 weeks ago. And I said, hey, to higher up. And I said, hey, I would love to talk about my career, but I'm not leaving and I'm not searching elsewhere. And he goes, that both heightened my fear, but brought it back down. And I was like, okay, good. Okay. And I was like, hey, and I let them know, I want to stay here. I want to, but I want to grow and I want to try these things, and there isn't positions. And I know a position doesn't open overnight.
Yeah.
But hey, in the next 12 months, if something comes up, here's my name in the hat.
Yeah.
Consider me. So I tell women, like, go for it. Just honestly go for it. Say yes. If it takes 400 applications, then apply for 405 jobs. That's fine. Like, you have the time, and your worth and your ability is not affirmed because your resume got through the super scanner with all the keywords and then it beat through this people and this. No, it's not. Like, if it didn't make it, it didn't make it, and that's okay. We're just going to trust the Lord that we're applying. We're doing everything on our end.
Yes.
And I want more women. If you feel like this is what the Lord is calling you to, you should be responding. And I say that not as I want women in a specific role or a specific industry, because some women in the workplace, he's calling them to leave it and to be stay-at-home mothers.
Yeah.
And yes, if the Lord is calling you to do that, absolutely do that. But if the Lord is calling you to maybe your kids are in school, someone's watching this and their kids are in school. They just sent their second kid to first grade, and they have a little bit more free time, and you've been thinking about, getting a job or something like that. And you feel like the Lord's like, hey, I'm giving you permission. Step into that. Say yes. Because if you can be trusted with people, you could be the difference maker in someone's life as a manager, as an employee. Like, we forget that influence, McQuenda.
Oh my gosh.
We forget that. Like, a lot of women that I know won't step into a management role, even though they have the ability, they have the yes from the Lord, they have the time, and they would have senior leadership behind them if they said yes, if they even prompted that conversation. And so it's like, think about it. Like, you're an employee and you're impacting people. But now imagine you become a manager and there's 10 people under you. Like, there's 10 people under you that you could be creating eternal impact. We think, oh, I'm only going to be in the corporate world for a year, 2 years. But in those 1-2 years, your impact could be beyond, 1 year of reporting or 1 year of accounting. You could be having eternal impact on people.
Yeah. Oh,
and that we totally forget that.
Oh my God.
We totally forget that.
You were dropping gems. My God. That's why I'm just quiet. I'm just over here just like, tell him. Yeah, say it again.
Ask for the money. Ask for the raise.
Yeah, no, 1,000%. I think part of what God, I feel like God's saying through this. One, a wrong theology and a wrong perspective of God, it will diminish your effectiveness and how it is so powerful. Because I think we look at scripture and we're like, they didn't go after stuff and this, and they were meek and this. Is like, one, we got to get correct definition of words.
Yes.
And we need to get correct context.
Yes.
Like, the reality is this: if Lydia isn't crushing it in the marketplace, Jesus' ministry does not get financed. Mm-hmm. It was a woman. Mm-hmm. For all your men out there, it was a woman in business.
Lord, let it be me.
Let it be 100%. And it's like, we have to get, I love the scripture where it talks about, like, if you ask your father for a fish or for bread, he's not, it's bread. He's not going to give you a stone.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we've had such, unfortunately, bad examples of maybe people saying, all right, God, I want a Maserati or whatever.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, like, because of that, and there's that extreme, and I don't want to be that extreme, I'm not going to ask for anything.
Yeah.
And it's like, no.
Yeah.
That is, it is, the reality is this. We have, all of us, we have different assignments, the same mission. Occupy till he comes, right? Disciple the nations. And you said it perfectly. Like, God gave you specific talents. God gave you this job. Maybe you're an engineer, you're account executive, whatever. I want you to advance as high as you can go, because when you do, you are literally fulfilling the Great Commission. Yeah. Through what we need you in those. Actually, my mentor back in Michigan, I always talk about him. He's going to be on the show one day here soon. But he was, through his agency, he was working for this hospital. Mm-hmm. And, I want to say it was in the Midwest area. And they were doing their advertising and their campaigns. And part of the deal, when you became an agency of record, you get to sit on kind of the board of decisions for a short time. So he's on this board, and they're saying, hey, we want to really stand out in the market. So we are going to come out and say we are the number one hospital for transgender surgeries. Wow. We're the number one. If you want to change, you can come here. And obviously his biblical perspective, like, I can't do this. Yeah. Right? Like, I don't have my convictions telling me no, right? Mm-hmm. Like, biblically, I can't stand behind this. And he said, you know what? He prayed, and the Holy Spirit gave him this idea. It's like, hey, present them with this other option. So he presented this other option, and they crunched the number. They're like, hey, if we do this, here are our projections. I actually think this would be way more profitable if we went this route. And they're like, okay. Yeah. And his lesson to me was like, Maquinda, that would not happen if I was not in the room. Yeah. If I would have abandoned my post thinking that, woe is me, I want to be humble, I want to just be your humble servant. A humble servant looks like David stepping up to kill Goliath. Yes. Like, a humble servant looks like Gideon taking his bow. Matter of fact, the thing you actually see in the Bible more is God calling someone to step into their role, and fear intimidates them from doing it, and God calling them higher. Yeah. You see that more than God saying, oh, you're a little too high on your high horse. Let's knock you down. Now, he does do that. He did it to David. He did it to Solomon. That's why Ecclesiastes we have. And he's like, well, all this different stuff, right? But most of the time, Moses, I can't speak. Jeremiah, I'm too young. Yeah. Right? Like, I can go down the list. Gideon, I don't have the experience. I don't have the family. Yeah. I don't have the strength. I don't have the numbers. Right? You can keep going down the list. Esther, I can't do it. I can't speak. He is constantly trying to raise people up. Yes. And I think what we think is like, oh, it's a humility problem. It's like, no, I think it's actually more of a false humility problem. Yes. And God actually wants you to step up. Like, God would love for you to have that raise. Guess what? You can be more generous. Yeah. You can literally give more. We want to be generous. It's like, you need money.
Yes. The thing is, like, looking at how many women are holding some of these roles, and men, like, the generosity that can be released through you. I know a lot of corporate workplaces, they also match for any nonprofit.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah. I didn't know that. My friend works she just shared this all over Instagram and on our LinkedIn. She goes, my work matches. Me and my husband give to our church through my work. Her secular workplace matches. Mine doesn't. I check, but they give me 3 days off to do ministry a year. Dang. 3 days off. Yeah, so I'll take what I can get.
Oh, yeah.
A secular workplace gives me 3 days off in addition to all the PTO I earn, everything, to do ministry for the glory of the Lord. My work is paying for that. Dang. They're paying my salary 3 days. I'll take it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So to see that much generosity released is incredible. Like, my work is making a place for me to be generous in the kingdom. Mm-hmm. I know a lot of times we complain about oh, the decisions being made in this workplace or that workplace, but we won't take our seat on the decision-making board. And it's available to us.
There's no believers there. And listen, I get annoyed too. I see stuff that Disney do, and I'm like, man, what's going on over there? Here's the reality. What believer that's qualified for that position isn't stepping up?
Yeah.
Isn't being empowered of like, we actually don't need you on the prayer team at church. I mean, be on the prayer team at church. We need you on that board.
Yeah.
We'll pray for you.
Yeah.
We need you over there helping with decisions, or we need you. Again, the amount of people, I think we talked about this off camera of first time I saw John Maxwell speak, and he talked about, he was a pastor for like 20 years before he entered in the business world. And he said, I am more fruitful as an evangelist, not in church.
Yeah.
I'm literally more fruitful as an evangelist.
I believe that.
Being in the marketplace, because there is a natural hunger. Yeah. Right? And you're around people who are lost all the time. That should be like a gold mine for us as believers. And you get to influence people through your leadership. They get to see your life, the evidence of your walk with God. And we need people in the decisions and like sneak attack leading. Like I think of like a Daniel. Like Daniel advised several kings. Yes. Like several. Some came up, they died, they got overtaken, whatever. And they're like, all right, this is Daniel. He's our guy. Yeah. Like, and he's going to tell you what to do. Yeah. Like, thank God.
There is wisdom and understanding that is directly from God on believers. I truly believe.
Absolutely.
That are so afraid to lean into that. But yet when we look at the story of Daniel, like he was so gifted and so wise, that's what made a place for him. Yeah. I knew, like I've had believers tell me, like you shouldn't go into the workplace. It's so scary. And I'm like, I'm not afraid.
Come on now.
I'm not afraid. Like it's like we're the light. If it's really that dark, we should be going into there.
Why do you think you're there?
Yeah. It's like, and I think that the question is always, but think of the compromise. But if we get in there and change the culture, compromise no longer becomes the culture. Wow. The culture then becomes what we set it to be. Yeah. You can go in there and you can set it, like you can go into workplace as a manager to then senior manager to then VP to then senior VP to then CEO. If that's your call for the Lord, guys or girls, like if that's your call and that's what you're supposed to do, through that you set the culture. You let people know that, hey, in this place, we don't tolerate gossip. Yes. In this place, we don't tolerate speaking down to people. You could build a powerful team. And yes, that's the culture that you set. But in reality, what you're going in is you're speaking life into people. Yeah. You're changing their lives. You're drawing them to the reality of the Lord that you're living in. Yeah. And being like, hey, this coworker of mine, let me speak the truth of the Lord into you. And we sometimes think like, I'm going to tell them what's wrong with them. I'm going to tell them all the ways that they've sinned. I don't see God ever looking at us and handling us like that. Where in Scripture, we're supposed to love our neighbors. I sit with my cubicle neighbor when I was in the office 8 hours a day. Yeah. If I'm asking the Lord, who's my neighbor? He's like, get up and look. Wow. There's 50 of them in the office.
Your neighbor is the person next to your cubicle. Yeah. Matter of fact, sometimes you spend more time at work than you do home.
Yeah. Yep. So I was putting 8 hours in, commuting for 3 hours. And I asked, and I was asking the Lord, like, use me, do something. And I think it's in the context of the four walls of the church. And the Lord's like, look around. Wow. Look around. Look at the harvest. I agree with John Maxwell. I do. The harvest is ripe. Yeah. Scriptures say, pray for the laborers. We're like, Lord, change our workplaces. Go in and labor. Wow. Go in and labor. Woo. Change our workplaces. Take a seat at a table. Wow. And I think here's a thought that I had. We kind of talked about, just unbelieving women and believing women in the workplace as well. But I think the narrative for so long, and it was a valid narrative, has been nobody's made a place for women in the workplace to take a seat at. And you can see it on boards. You can see it on that. I won't disagree with that. Yeah. I won't disagree with that. However, that becomes the reality that we then live it out. So when someone pulls out a chair for us, we're like, I don't know what to do. Yeah. But what I started seeing now recently in the workplace is there's a lot of great men and a lot of great women who are unbelievers making places for women and men to take a seat. Yeah. They don't realize they're they're asking us to take a seat because of our work ethic.
Yeah.
But we're going in there and we're sitting and we're working with excellence, and they're valuing our opinions and they're making a place for us to belong. And we can go in there and say like, hey, we can bring the realities of the gospel into that. And it's been like, it's beautiful.
Woman of God, you better stand up. Come on now.
Amen.
Listen, again, I'll give you Bible, right? We are all made in the image of God.
Yes.
Right? Genesis. Mm-hmm. And I think we've taken that scripture where it says that that women are the helpmate, right? Mm-hmm. And sometimes we've seen that as like weak, right? The only I believe the only translation where it even hints to, it's not even weakness, strength-wise, it's delicate of how it describes women in the Bible. But you're made in the same image of God.
Yeah.
Yes, we are built differently.
Yeah.
We do operate differently, but we absolutely serve the same God.
100%.
And we're absolutely made in the image of God, meant to be like him, to be co-laborers with Christ. And I love what you said of like, God's just waiting for the harvest is there. It's not like the people aren't there. It's just that he's just looking for some people to actually step up and take their place. I love to, as we kind of start to, I always say this as like the classic pastor land the plane. But what are some practical things that, let's say someone's watching, they're a woman, they're in the workplace, they're a believer, they want to rise, and obviously this goes beyond just women, but like you want to rise the ranks, right? You're like, okay, I believe you. I feel this call. I feel you pushing me higher, right? That God's called me to this. I can rise the ranks, climb the ladder in my job, in my field, or whatever it may be. What would you suggest, or what do you advise women how they can do it? Do it biblically, do it in honor, right? Because there is, let's just be honest, there is a lot of bad corporate culture of
100%.
Competition, of you got to always watch the person next to you and like, who's the snake, who's really trying to get after me. Half the time, sometimes you're not even doing your job. You're just trying to protect your back. And man, and I tell you, this is a little just funny anecdote. The thing that I hated in corporate, and sometimes I have clients that are more in that corporate setting. I hated the emails. Oh man, the slyness of those emails.
They CC someone, and you're like, oh, you're gonna CC me?
They're like, I put you and your supervisor here together. Yes. Yeah. Like see below, as previously stated. Like all this different stuff. Like this corporate lingo, man. This is just clapbacks.
It is the clapback for sure.
Oh my God. Yeah, I've CC'd you as your supervisor. The whole. Oh my gosh. Anyways, but. What would you suggest to those wanting to rise the ranks in their jobs, in their fields, their careers, and do it God's way, to do it in a way that pleases the Lord, where they don't feel like they are compromising or they're just doing what everybody else does? Because sometimes that just happens. You just kind of get caught up in the mix. What would you tell them to do?
Fix your eyes on the Lord. Fix your eyes on the Lord. Get back into scripture. Get back into praying. If you haven't been, because life has caught you up, like he loves you, he loves being with you, there's grace on that. He's not going to meet you with condemnation, but get back into scripture, get back into reading, get back into what the word of God says, get back into spending time with the Lord. It keeps you in awareness to him. Invite him into your day-to-day. There was something I posted on Instagram, and I had so many people reach out. It was like, you have an opportunity to leave the Lord at the door of your workplace and be like, okay, wait here till I'm done with work.
Ooh.
Or you have an opportunity to welcome him into the seat next to you at work. Like, I am going to welcome him to the seat next to me. Lord, make me aware that you're here, because that keeps me in check. That keeps me in check. I want to reflect the nature of the Lord.
Yes.
Compromise can know whatever is on the other side of compromise. Like sometimes it's like, oh, if I just compromise a little bit and I'll get a promotion. It's not worth stepping out of bounds. And yes, we make mistakes. And yes, there's grace for that. And yes, there's forgiveness for that. But if there's anything that I've learned, anything that I've gotten because of compromise has never been worth it.
Oof.
It's never been worth it.
Never.
And so I will tell women, figure out what your convictions are. Get so bold in that. and just walk it out. It doesn't matter if you write it down. Everybody's very different. I have to write them down and live by them. I need to know what they are. If sometimes when I was in the office, sometimes it's that prayer of being like, Lord, you're here. Starting that morning, getting my cup of coffee in the kitchen, being like, Lord, you're here. When I'm meeting with, people, and maybe my tone wasn't correct and I knew it. I wanted to be a little snarky. I wanted to be a little sassy. I knew it. The Lord invites me to accountability. Oh, he's so quick to forgive. Like I'll be like, Lord, I'm so sorry. I didn't reflect your nature, Lord. I was just so stressed out, and I could have been kinder to them. And he's so quick to forgive, but also just as quick to welcome into accountability and be like, go apologize. Apologize to the coworker, and he's like, "Oh, that's
exactly.
And the Lord's
for that email that I sent." Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I guess my biggest advice would just be so aware of the Lord. At the end of the day, I just want to please the Lord. Whether it's in a workplace for this season, whether it's at home with kids in a different season, whether it's at school, whether you have a mix of all these on your plate. My heart is that I want to please the Lord, and I want to look like the Lord.
Yes.
And he's so kind and gracious to show me what that is. When I get corrected by the Lord, when I read scripture and I'm like, ooh, that kind of hurts. That's kind of sharp. That's his correction. I know he loves me. Yes. I know he loves me because he corrects his children.
He chastens the one he loves.
Yes. And so I'm so open for correction. So I just say, and also extend grace. I have been CC'd on many, many emails. But I've always just extended grace. I'm like, oh, like I know what they're doing. I know what they're doing. But I'll just be like, oh, okay, just respond. It takes so much, what's the word? So much self-restraint. It takes so much self-restraint to not clap back in the corporate space.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And I'm like, you know what, Lord, it's only you. It's only, because there are times I just heard this on Sunday. We were at Upper Room. You can be 99.9% correct, but it's that 0.001 where you were in the wrong, where you were actually late, even though you had a good reason.
Yeah.
And you're getting, that clap back, or you're getting that email that you're like, this is a little uncomfortable. Extend grace. Extend grace. People only do what they've known to do. If they've lived by this culture, just extend grace. I have gotten in the last 2 years, I've gotten about 5 or 6 formal apologies from HR or senior leadership of how someone responded because they saw an email string.
Wow.
And they're like, yeah, are you okay? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, yeah, we saw like you were just so kind. And I was like, I didn't want to be. I'm going to be really honest. I didn't.
100%.
I didn't. But at the end of the day, I don't want to get caught up in those email strings. And for someone to find out, the people that don't know, wait, you're a Christian?
Yeah.
Okay. I want them to be like, okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Right.
That makes sense. You know, and all those conversations that are cultivated in the workplace of like, I've had people be like, why didn't you say this? And it's like, I wanted to, but I don't know. I don't want to ruin their day. They're like, but they ruined yours.
Yeah,
and it's like, my day's not ruined because someone was sassy.
Oof.
Stay unoffendable at work. Like, oh, okay. Like I've seen everything. I've seen things being reported. I've seen, people will be like, oh, I've seen things that just had no footing being done. I don't even know how to word that, but I've seen so much injustice, I guess I would say, in the workplace.
Yeah.
And sometimes it feels like you are a doormat for the Lord.
Yeah.
But let it be so. Let it be so. I'm very careful to uphold boundaries. I'm very careful to if I feel like there's conflict and I'm very intentional. If I feel like there's conflict, I'll address it. I'll have that conversation. 90% of people in corporate won't. I'll be like, hey, like, are we good? Like, is there something? Oh, no, yeah. And sometimes it's just addressing them face to face or doing a Zoom call and letting them know, like, hey, I feel like there's just a disagreement between us. Like, I don't know, like, I'm totally okay if you want to keep CCing my boss on this. If that's just your style of work, give them the benefit of the doubt. But I just wanted to double check, like, and they're like, yeah, actually, yeah, I did want your boss to see this. And it's like, oh, okay, like, is there something we can talk about? Get into conflict resolution.
Yeah.
Get into it and then deal with it, and it's done. And you'll see that the faster you learn how to do conflict resolution in the workplace, especially as a believer, with the grace of the Lord, remaining unoffendable, the better for you.
Yeah. My gosh, this is a master class. Just masterful. And it's funny, what I kept thinking about, because we started with this talking about get what you deserve as far as salary, this and that. It's funny, all those things you mentioned, all the character, all the fruits of the Spirit, all the things that matters to me more than how much you're getting paid.
Yeah.
Like, your witness is not ruined by you getting a pay raise.
Yeah, it's not.
It's not like, oh man, like I'm not going to be a good witness for Christ because I'm not humble no, it's actually like when you do clap back on an email that you should have just kept quiet about, or maybe you didn't speak up when you should speak up because you're defending so-and-so and you're saying what's right. Like, those are the actual things, one, that like develop that culture. That's where like the whole be a light, be salt, that's being salt. It's not saying what you want to say and then saying what you need to say.
Yes.
And I hope what we're getting at is you can be bold, you can live for Christ, and part of your witness are these things. And it has nothing to do with how much you're getting paid.
Yeah.
Like, ask for what you want. Like, ask for it.
Well, within reason, market rate. I always tell people to do that because I've had people being like, well, I asked for a 60% raise, and I was like, oh, is that market rates? And they're like, no, but I deserve it. And I'm like, wait. And I was like,
I deserve a Bugatti. Don't mean I'm going to get it. But.
Listen, I'm a Porsche girl myself. I definitely deserve that. Yeah. But I tell people, I was like, hey, well, can you list out, well, I'm working 2 roles. Oh, can you prove it? Can you show that on paper? And sometimes it's just a matter of writing it down. And they're like, and it's like, oh wait, actually you do work 2 roles. Yes, you need to be asking for these things. Like, if you leave, they hire 2 people, you do need to be asking. And other people, it's like, they ask you to do 1 additional task. You do not need a 60% raise if you're already getting paid over market.
Yeah.
So I think too, like, giving people permission to ask what they should be asking for too.
Absolutely. Because most of the time, like it. And I think genuinely, again, the Holy Spirit will tell you if you're off, like, no, you're good.
Yeah.
Or no, you need to what I think what we're trying to get at is there's a religious mindset that sets in of, oh no, this is your limit.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And but all those things, I mean, it's just sound wisdom. Man, we could talk literally for like hours and hours and hours. Okay, officially landing the plane here. What would you hope? I honestly this is just curious for me. What do you hope for Christian Corporate Girl? Because again, I mean, literally, again, I said before we met, it was, I think you're like 8,000 followers, and now you're at 14, right? It's growing, and that's a very niched like audience, and the fact that it's growing and like that's just beautiful to me. What's your dreams for it? What would you because I'm about to ask people to like follow and support and not just support, but get in the community, ask questions. All her DMs are open, not if you weird, you know what I mean? Like,
we still sometimes answer the weird DMs, and by we I mean me.
Yeah. No, send those to me. I'll get them in check.
Send them to him.
You know what I mean? But like, I want you to get in community with other women of God that are crushing it in the corporate space. What's your dream for it?
I'd love to see, I have so many dreams for it. I would love, one of the things is I would love to see women that are in the workplace that have maybe put, praying for their workplace on the back burner. Because they're like, oh, I'm just here for a season. I'm here. I want them to get really intentional about praying and believing for their workplaces.
That's good.
Pray and believe. Pray for your coworkers. Like, stand in the gap in expectation. Lord, meet them.
That's good.
Even if it takes 10 years, meet them. Use me for seed number 1. I want women to believe that they have a right to ask. I want to kill imposter syndrome. I want to end imposter syndrome. I really would love just to see like the fruit of that. I want to hear testimonies of people getting saved. That's what I want. Like, I want to hear testimonies of people getting saved through the women that said yes to the Lord in the workplaces. I want people to not be afraid to step into the workplace. And I also want people to not be afraid to step out of the workplace. And I think a lot of times women will see the page and be like, but I feel like the Lord's calling me out. Yes, go in peace. Like, even if he never calls you back in, like whether you're coming in or going out, like know that the Lord is with you. I'm developing a little resource called just like a career tracker for women that kind of keeps them a little bit, kind of helps with the accountability, keeps them aware where they want to grow, where they've developed. I know sometimes we can underplay our skills and our development, but something that kind of makes it easy for them to keep track of that isn't a resume. Because when we start resume writing, we're like, oh, I've worked on Excel.
Right.
Okay, wait, if you look at your last 10 projects, you were coding in Excel. That's very different. We downplay that, and then we wonder why we're not giving opportunities that match our abilities. So I would say that, I mean, I'm open for whatever the Lord wants to do. Yeah. I started a Substack. I share weekly on remote opportunities and great paid opportunities. I want women's minds to be changed and transformed to believe that they're capable of these roles. That they can totally, if someone else can do it, why can't it be you?
Right.
If someone else can do it, like, I want them to stretch their minds and to understand that you can learn these skill sets. So just kind of all around that area, like I can't wait to see. I'm still undone at the fact that right now we're at 14.6 thousand followers.
My goodness.
I'm still undone. I told myself if 1,000 people follow, I'll consider that a success.
Wow.
I was like, I will run with it and I'll be like, man, 1,000 people needed to hear this. But when you think about it, you're like 14 and a half thousand people.
Like a fill a stadium.
Yeah, connected with this. And I was like, now imagine if we all start interceding for our workplaces. If we start believing. If maybe we've been putting our own development with the Lord, our own walk with the Lord on the back burner, but we have been feeling a burning on the inside of us to draw near. Let's lean into that.
I love that.
So, I mean, like I'd love to see Bible studies come out of this.
I was about to say, I think you could do an amazing virtual Bible study.
I would
like
love
a lunch with the girlies kind of, you know what I mean? Oh yeah, we'll talk offline.
Yeah. I'd love to see that.
All those dreams, none of them are too big.
Yeah.
It's 100% doable.
Yes.
And not just because of you, but because of the grace of God that's on you and the Lord. And I just want you to know, at Faith Hustle, we are supporting you, backing you.
Thank you.
I can't wait to see all that God does.
We cannot wait to share.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to link all of her stuff below. Obviously, please follow. Thank you so much for being here. This really it blessed me.
Thank you for having me.
What y'all don't know, we had some technical difficulties and we actually recorded a second part again twice. And I actually think it was better than it was the first time we recorded. But thank you so much for being here. And you are really making a difference. And I mean, literally, by this time next year, it's going to be wild to see the growth and what God does. So I'm excited to be along for the ride.
Thank you so much for having me. It's literally been an honor. I loved the opportunity to hop on a plane with a friend and just come here and be a part of this. It's beautiful.
First podcast too.
Yeah, first podcast.
Please tell her to start a podcast. We're trying to make it happen. It's going to happen 2025. But
I don't know if this yapper needs more airtime.
Oh yeah, do it. Load her up on the DMs. Yeah, start the pod.
Yeah.
But anyways, we love you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It's been an honor.
Thank you so much for watching this week's episode of the Faith Hustle podcast. We hope you were encouraged, inspired, and feel equipped to walk out your faith hustle. If you want to come on this journey with us in growing in our business and faith, I encourage you to subscribe to the podcast, whether it be on audio platforms like Apple or Spotify or YouTube. We would love to take this journey with you, and we can't wait to see what God does in your business. We look forward to seeing you soon.